Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here after Carlisle have lost 2-1 at home to Wimbledon in a game that, for me, cements our relegation to non-league. It puts us 9 points from safety with a game in hand, I suppose. Maybe that's a small glimmer of hope. I certainly don't think so. We don't look in a position to be winning any of those games. It's another narrow loss, I will say. Hughes hasn't been beaten by more than one goal since he's come into this team, but 3 of the games have been losses. We haven't won many. In fact, we've won one. What is it? Lost 3 now, or lost 4. It is all by 1 goal. We've drawn 3, won 1. Yeah, it's just look. I think he got things very wrong today. From the very start. He went to a 4-4-2, which I like, or I like on paper. He started Josh Vella over Whelan or Patching, which is just, my opinions on Josh Vella as a player are very, very clear. I made a big deal of it in the last video. But look, whether you think he's good enough to be coming off the bench is one matter, and I don't think he is. But, it's a completely different matter to be considering him as your starting midfielder in a midfield too, and it just seems so nonsensical to me. And I understand, look, Hughes has complained a lot about fitness and about how he's got a lot of players that can't make 90 minutes. I assume that's the situation with Fusier and Patching, who were both taking kind of last minute fitness tests before the game today. So I'm not going to blame him too much for not playing either of them. To be perfectly honest with you, before I went into the game a bit early, or into the ground a bit early, and was kind of watching them do their fitness tests in a nearly empty ground. Up until that point, I kind of forgot Fusier even existed. But Patching, it was odd to see him there because he's always seemed kind of, he's looked good when he's played, I think. But if they're having to take fitness tests, then I can't really blame Hughes for the fitness of the players that should be better. But Whelan, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to start, and he has started for a lot of games this season. But to start Josh Vella over him just seems like madness to me. But look, I'll give a comparison, a bit of an analogy here. I finished uni not too long ago, but we're still getting kind of results back for our submitted kind of essays, assignments, and we got one back the other day, and there was a lot of people in our big group chat saying, I can't access the feedback, and it was a bit of a problem where people couldn't get the feedback. But I remember thinking, we're done, there's no assignments left, there's no essays left to write, what do you want your feedback for, what are you going to use that feedback to do? And I feel very much the same about this. Why am I giving feedback? It's over. Why am I sitting here giving decisions that I think should have been made? It's completely done. We're 9 points from safety and we don't look like we're going to win any of our remaining games. Why am I sitting here giving feedback? I don't think anything can change. I think we're done. I think that's gone today. So I don't see the point in sitting here and giving constructive feedback on what the manager should have done differently or what individual players should have done differently. There's no point because we're gone. We're down. Hughes won't admit it, and of course he won't. He can't admit it. But surely he must know, and surely all them players must know, because I think the problem, it's not something that can be fixed before the end of the season. That's what I'll say. The problems aren't, we need to do this differently formation-wise, or we need to make this substitution, we need to change this player for this player. Some things can be improved. I think, look, we failed to play 4-4-2 today. We failed to play one of the most basic systems in football that's used because of how basic it is. We played that 4-4-2, and I genuinely couldn't tell you. That's what it was on paper. That's what I think we started out trying to do. But we were all over the place. And I don't know whether that's intentional or it was just poor discipline on the pitch, but players were moving completely out of position anywhere they wanted. I genuinely, you couldn't see a formation today. At times it was just a back four and then every man for himself. It looked so disjointed, it looked so disorganised, it looked so poor. And that's the most damning statement I think I can make today, is I don't know what we were trying to do. Josh Vella was atrocious, as could be expected, as he has been since he's joined the club. Not just since he's come back from injury, but since he joined the club over a year ago. I don't think he's had a good performance. But yeah, look, I just, if we've got a team full of professional footballers who aren't fit enough to play, according to the manager, and who can't play a basic 4-4-2 system, what do you want me to sit here and say constructively? Because there's nothing I can see that can fix that at all. I genuinely have no idea what the problem is. Well, I know what the problem is, but I've got no idea what you can do to fix that in the short term. I think it just has to be, let's see this season out. Play the players that you're going to keep next season. And to be honest, that might not include fielding the starting 11, in my opinion, but I suppose you've got to. But just, look, play Breeze every match, because hopefully he's part of the plan, and hopefully he doesn't leave in the summer. Play the players that you want to be here next year. In my opinion, that'd be maybe Archie Davis, maybe Sam Lavelle, maybe Terrell Thomas. I think Callum Whelan I'd definitely have in the squad, but Callum Guy, I think he might leave in the summer, even though I want us to keep him. But apart from that, who do I want? Maybe I like Will Patching, but if he's not professional enough to stay fit, then I don't know what to say on the matter. Whether we should keep him or not. Play the players that you think are going to be here next season, and just prepare for next season. Treat this season as a pre-season, if that's what it's come down to, because I can't see any way we're staying up now. I don't want to hear about that game in hand, because we can't win games. We genuinely can't win games, and teams come into playing against us confident and knowing that they're going to win, and that's why we can't ever get anything. People aren't scared of us. They're not even worried about how we play. And even when it went down to 2-1 today, I don't think Wimbledon were worried. I think they knew that they'd won. I think they could have scored a lot more than they did if they'd have tried a bit harder, but it's cruise control. Teams come up to Carlisle and they know they're going to win. That's the problem. The problem is that they don't have to try to beat us. They just need to, we can't score. Or we definitely don't score a lot. I think that's Hughes' second open play goal since he came in. Teams know that we're not going to score, so they just need to not make stupid mistakes, and then we're going to present them chances because we make mistakes. So all teams have to do is come to Carlisle and not do anything stupid, and they're going to leave with 3 points. That's what it's come down to, and I don't blame the manager, because he hasn't been long enough here to be blamed. But one January recruit started that game today. One. And I'd argue he was probably one of the worst players on the pitch in Bevan, a lone player from Burnley. We made 11 signings in January, and one of them is getting into that team, and I'd argue he shouldn't be getting into that team. How poor has the recruitment been? And look, from Greg Abbott, from Clarkson, I don't know, but you've got to make a decision at the top of the club. What are you going to do differently in the National League? Because it's not an easy league. I think there's a good number of teams in the National League that would survive in League 2. I think, I believe in the 2 up, 2 down system between the National League and League 2, because I think it should be hard to become a Football League club. It should be hard to make the jump from non-league to the professional leagues. But there is a good argument for why there should be 3 up, 3 down, because there's a lot of quality in non-league. There's a lot of teams that, look, when we went down in the National League under Simo, when I was too young to remember it, we went down into a much weaker league than we're going to go down into this time, and we're going down with a much weaker squad. So many players in that squad, I think they're on such long contracts as well. Jordan Jones, I never want to see him play for the club again. He's just, I think he's got some ability, but and that's the case with most of the players there. They've got ability, and that's why it's so insulting that they are where they are. They don't put the effort in, and more importantly, I just don't get the impression that they care, because if they did, they'd be so much more urgent in what they do. You can watch the players, and I don't care about what the manager says about, the players are hurting, or, I think that was more of a Williamson thing to say. But the manager's obviously going to say that players are putting in effort, but most of them aren't fit enough by the manager's own admission. And you watch the game today, walking around. Josh Villa, to be fair, he can't run very fast when he tries, but none of them breaking a sprint, and there's no urgency to get forward. You can't see on the pitch that we are where we are, that we should be fighting to get out of a relegation battle. I see a bunch of players that are treating every game like a pre-season friendly, that they're just going out there to pick up a wage, and I don't want anyone from the club to tell me anything different, or to say that the players are putting in the effort in training or anything like that. I can see that isn't happening, so please just don't even try and lie to me about that. Look at the players today, and they'll say it's a confidence thing, but you've got players that have played at a higher level and have played at a higher level successfully, and you go out there today, they're just not running, they're not putting in the yards, they're not risking themselves to get a desperate point out of that today. They're not desperately trying to get the ball forward to score a goal. It's just not. There's no desperation in the team. There's no effort in the team. We're just a team of overpaid, average players. They're not. They're players that are better than where they are in the league ability wise, but there's an overpaid. We've got an overpaid squad on massively inflated contracts, money-wise and time-wise. There's a lot of players in that squad that have got at least 2 years left on their deal. And why should they try? They don't have a connection with Carlisle. They've just come in here because they've seen a club offering them a long-term contract on a lot of money, and they're going to get that money regardless of how they play. So why should they care? The only player that I think comes out of this season with any amount of dignity is Gabriel Breeze. And why is it? Why is it that after all the money we've spent, all of the players we've signed, and we've signed a lot, we signed 11 in January alone, add that to the amount of players we signed in the summer as well, we've signed 2 squads this season, and yet our best player this year has been a keeper from the youth academy. If that isn't damning on the recruitment department, and I mean that Greg Abbott wise, and I mean that Rob Clarkson wise, and I was very happy when Rob Clarkson came into the club, and to be honest with you, I was excited about a number of his signings, but then they haven't worked. None of them have worked. Not a single example has worked out well for Rob Clarkson's signings. Not a single player. Not one. So you've got to blame them too. And if you're going to stick with them, stick with them. If you're going to get rid now. Because we are down and out. There's no point in feedback on the performance. It was poor again, but it doesn't matter because we're down. And I don't even want to hear about Tranmere and Morecambe winning. Tranmere won. Morecambe got a point. It's over. It's completely done now. It has been done for a while because the players don't look like they want to put in a performance. But now it's just about preparing for next season, and I think some very difficult decisions need to be made from the top right down to the bottom of the club, because do you stick with the manager? Because I think he's been brought in as a manager to try and keep us up this season, not really as a long-term manager. Make the decision now what you're going to do with the manager. Make the decision now what you're going to do with the recruitment department, and make the difficult decision now what you're going to do with these players on stupidly long contracts, because I genuinely think it might be worth the money to just cut your losses, pay them out of their contract and get on with things. Maybe Jared Brandthwaite goes in the summer. Maybe we get 20 million into the club or something daft like that. Use that money to pay off the stupidly overpaid squad that we've got at the minute, and plan again next year for the National League, because a lot needs to change at every level of the club because things just haven't worked and they're not working. This is a team that we were told at the start of the season would be challenging for promotion. We're bottom, and we're bottom by quite some distance, and do you know what, we deserve to be. And I just look, when the Piatex came into the club, or the Piatex I should say, sorry, I've mispronounced that for far too long. I like the money they've put into the club, but if you're them now, you've got to be looking at the fact that they've bought a League One club that's now in the National League. I don't care about how good the directors' boxes look. People I know are becoming so disillusioned with this club. People I know have already decided that they're not going to come back next season. A lot of people will come to the games because of their season tickets. How many of them season tickets do you think are going to be bought next season? And look, this season I kind of looked past it because I liked that they were putting money into the club, but I can't do it this season. When we got relegated last year, the prices of season tickets went up. If the price of season tickets go up next year when we're relegated from a Football League club to the National League, I'm not coming back. And I feel like a lot of people will be in the same boat. If they up ticket prices next year, when we're in the lower division, when we're in non-league, when we're not even a Football League club, if the prices go up again from our already quite high season ticket prices, I'm not coming back. I'm just not. On principle alone, I'm not coming back because that's stupid. And I just feel like that's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like that's going to happen because it happened last year. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's done. I can't see any positivity out of that. I think, look, and the Vela thing, Whelan was a big part in the goal we scored today, 20 seconds after coming onto the pitch. You know, he made an impact instantly. Why? I just don't understand the decisions being made by the coach and staff. I don't understand the decisions being made above that. And I don't understand the decisions being made by the players on the pitch. I'm so confused by everything. And I feel like so many people are in the same boat, where we've been sold a dream and it's turned into a nightmare. Like, I just don't understand how things could possibly have gone this wrong. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say today. Some, big statements there. But look, I'm so mentally distant from the team and from the club. I had a thought today. If one of the new signings walked past me in the street, I don't think I'd recognise them. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like, last season, if John Mellish walked past you, or if, Huntington walked past you, or if any of the first team players walked past you when we were going up, you knew them because players like the squad. I'm so disinterested and so disengaged with the club, and I don't know whether that's because the media's been drastically reduced, or certainly the media you can watch for free, or because of the poor performances that I just don't want to be involved, kind of in a emotional way with the players. Apart from the very obvious, like, distinct players that look quite distinct, like Callum Whelan. If I walk past Embleton in the streets, I'm not going to know who he is. If I walk past Sedwin Scott in the streets, I don't know who he is. If I walk past Charlie MacArthur in the streets, I don't know these players. I'm so distant. I'm so mentally distant from this squad that it's. I've never felt in my time as a Carlisle fan this disengaged from the players and from the club itself, and it's really sad to see, and that's the takeaway from today. But yeah, I'll see you next week, I guess. Because, I'm going to keep making these videos, even if at times it is quite difficult. But yeah, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.